Early this morning, we head off to Lamar. Wait, bison. Anyway, we head to Lamar Valley to see some wildlife early in the morning. Nope, more bison traffic.
Bison mama.
My dog keeps barking, and all the bison turn around as if he knocked some motorcycles over outside a bar. And Lamar is beautiful. We saw so many bison, and I got some of the best pictures in the park, especially when they roll over. But now we're leaving Yellowstone for the time being and going to Cook City. Cook had an awesome store. My summary of the souvenirs in Yellowstone, the stuff outside the park boundaries is much better than inside.
Yo, someone pulled the fire alarm, check.
Coming about food is exceedingly hard. We aren't allowed to eat inside, and the lines at every restaurant are around the buildings. One company owns every restaurant, hotel, and gift shop in every national park in the country. That means they don't have to charge a reasonable price or give any good customer service. When you're in the middle of nowhere and can't leave the park easily, it means that things are very expensive, very busy, and not always the best quality. My suggestion is that if you're coming to Yellowstone, also check out the gateway towns. We decided to head to West Yellowstone. It's outside the park and has a discovery center, basically a zoo with bears, wolves, and everything inside Yellowstone except bison. It's geared more towards children, but it's great if you didn't see some of the animals you'd hoped for. The town was nice and they had good shops and restaurants. It was a nice little break from the park food. I like West Yellowstone. Even the park visitor center with the rangers was filled with super nice people. But we're heading back to the beautiful landscapes of the park, and immediately we saw a black bear. It was across the river and people were going crazy and stopping in the road.
Huckleberry ice cream, because that's a thing over here.
And now we're at Grand Prismatic. Beautiful, just as I hoped. Back to Old Faithful to see another show. It was windier, so we got another better view of the water. Then, at dinner, the mac and cheese was probably the best food in the park. And we head back to Hayden Valley, hopefully to see more bison before our final night. I can tell my dog's tired and ready to go home. I feel pretty bad, but tomorrow we'll leave for the journey back. We stopped in Hayden one last time, and it was quiet that Sunday night. We drove past some bad drivers from California that loved the baby bison, and that stopped in the middle of the road and got yelled at by a park ranger. We saw some bison sprint right next to a family near the bathrooms, too.
Oh, how?
We talked in an overlook with a nice New Orleans family about where to go see certain animals and views. With so many visitors coming to the park each day, it's going to be a very mixed bag. But it's important to remember the good and the fun experiences while standing in awe at the beautiful scenery. Yellowstone will forever have one of those beautiful canyons and valleys, but it's really the people that make the trip that much better.
I'm not gonna lie, the sandwiches are very dry.
Thank you, Yellowstone. You had ups and downs, but it was well worth it. We begin today at Lewis Falls on the way out of Yellowstone. We road tripped across the country to get here, and now we're doing the Oregon Trail in reverse to get back home. We're leaving the south entrance and heading over to Grand Teton. Driving through the national forest, half of the trees are completely burnt. Fires are essential to the habitat's survival, but fires starting artificially disrupt the ecosystem. The Tetons are beautiful, with the mountains and water. At Elk Ranch Turnoff, I'm pretty sure I saw another YouTuber, but I'm not entirely sure. Snake River overlook was beautiful. We saw some people rafting down it. Then we went down to Mormon Row and saw some settlements with the Tetons in the back, and the most photographed barn in the country for whatever reason. At the end of the Mormon Trail, many Mormons moved to Utah and western Wyoming. The wood barns make an amazing contrast to the gray mountains.
Reach down. Pet it.
And by the time we got to the visitor center, it started raining. But it stopped, and we went down to Jenny Lake, getting some nice pictures along the way. The clouds coming off the mountain looked amazing. I'd love to come here again. I'd like to talk for a second about bad drivers in construction. We were trying to get through and follow a pilot car, but our group got disconnected because of a bad driver and went into the right lane when we were supposed to be in the left lane. Then, suddenly a tractor trailer comes out at full speed and almost hit us. It felt like Mario Kart. So we drove through the Wind River Reservation to Lander. There were 2 museums that we went to and had pretty cool frontier history. After they close, we head to Sinks Canyon State Park. It's cool because of a rapid flowing river that sinks into a cave and comes out the other side. The sink side lets you go over to the cave and see where the water disappears. Near the rise side, you can feed the trout in the pool.
These. We have these.
So we got our Dr. Dynamite, our ginger ale, our grape soda, our punch soda, our orange soda. And now that we're stocked up, we can end the day. We wake up to another cloudy Wyoming day. The first stop on our plan is Independence Rock. What you're seeing now is the ghost town of Jeffrey City. And up there is Split Rock, one of the stops on both the Oregon and California trails. Then Independence Rock, another important landmark named because of the 4th of July celebration there. Now Devil's Gate, part of the Mormon Trail. During the emigration of Mormons along this trail, you had to pass through this canyon. Many families use hand carts instead of oxen, and there's a memorial to the tragedy of one company during an early snowstorm. It was really interesting, but now we have to head to Laramie. In Yellowstone, we had pretty bad internet, so getting a bit of good service meant that some of the stresses of daily life started flooding back in. Even though we still have a few more days on the road, it feels like it's already coming to an end. However, we still have a lot to see, so let's get moving. But the biggest stressor of all is our oil. It's been over 2,000 miles since our check oil light came on, and the last time we tried, the rental company just said no. Going on vacation is supposed to delay some of the stresses of everyday life. It's the worst when you're faced with something that can't wait. We're gonna try again in the next town, but the wait was too long. So we visit the Wyoming Territorial Prison to see the dumb crimes that constituted jailing, like forging a $34 check. But now we're finally in Cheyenne getting our oil changed. It didn't even take 20 minutes. So we walked around Cheyenne, saw their famous train depot, and got a good view of the Capitol building from outside. But since we had a lot of time left, we decided to make an excursion into Colorado. The Rockies here are so beautiful. I know that every single mountain we've seen in Wyoming and Montana were part of it, but this just feels different. We're going to a haunted ice cream store. It was pretty good, but there were some good stores downtown in Fort Collins. But we're heading back to Cheyenne for the night. You're in it. Gotta find the best Broncos.
Subscribe.
What the dog doing? And today is the long day. We're driving from Cheyenne to Lincoln through most of Nebraska. Because Wyoming doesn't actually exist, we realized we were in Nebraska the whole time. But Scotts Bluff is pretty. We came an hour and a half before it opened, so we had a while to find some good shots. And then they let us drive up to some viewpoints at the top. It's beautiful to see the Badlands along the Platte, and that's the reason that the homesteaders passed through the bluffs instead of staying along the river. And the next major landmark is Chimney Rock, a tower plagued by weak rock and erosion. Scotts Bluff had a limestone cap, meaning that it doesn't erode as fast. However, Chimney Rock erodes much quicker and won't be there forever. The fact that a rock pillar was the most well-known thing on the Oregon Trail gave us a warning of how boring the plains might be ahead of us. The rain meant that we couldn't stay long, so we decided to continue our journey. The next stop was a while away at the Arch in Kearney. It's about halfway through the state, and it's just a touristy rest stop. So we drive to Lincoln.
Ooh, yes! That view. What's the dog doing? Dog, what you doing? Dog chilling on the streets of Lincoln, Nebraska. Just looking around, doing dog things.
We stayed in the college area, so there were a lot of touristy stores and a younger atmosphere. I also got a great view from the hotel window. We went to a really good pizza place, and I got a pretty good pizza. It seemed like a cool city. Realizing that the only thing people from out of state do in Nebraska is drive through, we headed to Iowa for breakfast just before immediately going into Missouri.
Road work ahead.
We drove by Kansas City and saw the Royal Stadium.
Sorry, no sleep till Cleveland, Dad. Here. Mustard on my burger, only in the wherever this is called. I might cry because this might be my last time having a cheese curd.
There wasn't much to see along the highway, so we just watched the Missouri River and played games. And crossing the Missouri one more time told us that it's just a little while away to St. Louis. This entire leg of the trip has been going home, and it feels like that's all we're doing. Every so often though, we stop and say, whoa, I'm on vacation. I'm in St. Louis, I'm days away from my home. But of course, we see the gateway to the west.
Do it.
Walk sign is on the cross, Market Street. Wait.
It's really pretty, and there was a little museum. We also went to Busch Stadium where the Cardinals play. Then we head out to Cahokia Mounds, the largest prehistoric city north of central Mexico, and the first big prehistoric city in the Americas. The Mississippian Native Americans in the area built dirt mounds to avoid the frequent flooding, and the largest is taller than Chichen Itza and wider than the Great Pyramid of Giza. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and the area consists of 3 different types of mounds: flat ones for buildings, cone ones for burials, and ridge ones that nobody really knows what they're for. From the top of the largest Monk Mound, there's also an amazing view of St. Louis. If you're in the area, I really recommend seeing it. Quick stop to Walmart to buy Pacer stuff, and it's off to bed.
Gas station.
This is it, the last day of our trip. Route 70 through Indianapolis is closed, so as we leave, we get a chance to see some more interesting Middle American suburbs from the highway. A quick drive into Ohio and we're on to Columbus. We didn't stop, just drove around and saw some stadiums since my brother's into that. We're in Newark, Ohio now, at the basket-shaped building. It's just a building shaped like a basket. We changed our route home a bit so we can take 70 into Pennsylvania, which means one thing: West Virginia. Coming out of the Ohio Texan Safety Corridor, you can see the beautiful tree-filled Appalachian Mountains beginning to form. Crossing the Ohio River, I knew we were getting closer and closer back home. And of course, we played country roads.
I belong West Virginia.
Also, does this Chick-fil-A do this in everywhere but New Jersey, or is this just a West Virginia thing? Those 10 miles were beautiful. Also, at least we come back to the same Pennsylvania I remember. We exchange a boring landscape for the guarantee of cell service and prepare to be back home. I think my dog had fun. It's been the longest time away, and ours too. He's probably going to get really excited when he sees our house. As we pass through the water gap again, it marks the end of our trip. I like to think back to the Badlands sunset, or the storm in Chicago, or watching the bison at dusk in Yellowstone. They all feel like separate trips. It's hard to imagine that we went to a rodeo, saw Dignity of Earth and Sky, and climbed sugar rolls, all in the span of 2 weeks. We went across the country and saw so much. What an adventure.